Day 3 of Gen Con 2022 continues along, and I have the pleasure of speaking with John Compton of Paizo Inc. You guys know Paizo. I'm always sharing first looks and reviews of Pathfinder and Starfinder products. In fact, just this Monday, I gave you a first look at Dark Archive for Pathfinder. John and I are going to talk a little bit about that. We're also going to talk probably a lot about Starfinder, which, at least in my opinion, I think deserves more love than it might get sometimes. So first of all, John, thank you very much for taking some time out here. You guys have been super busy. Right now we're in the midst of a little bit of a lull because it's the end of the day. People are kind of loogy. So thank you very much.
Yeah, it's been a good Saturday. It's been a good already 3 days of Gen Con, which it always seems like it's so long, but it's also so short. It's like Sunday, tomorrow, oh my goodness.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, it's been really good to be back here after several years away, and there's nothing quite like the energy of going to a big convention, being able to meet with people and be reminded about why we do this in the first place. Right. People are passionate about it. It's good.
And it's also very nice to get a little appreciation from the fans too. It's nice to have people face to face tell you how much they love your products. It feels good.
I mean, there's a little bit of feeding the ego there.
Yeah, just a little. So let's talk. We're going to jump in. We're going to talk a little bit Pathfinder because there was a big release, and we are, of course, talking about, John, you want to share that book? It is Pathfinder Dark Archive, and it is paranormal options for Pathfinder. So we've got a couple of new classes, new archetypes, new backgrounds, obviously new feats. We've got new spells. Come on, you watched the first look video. You've seen some of this already.
And even it's released by now, so some of them may already be holding it in their hands as we speak.
It's very possible. You may have already read more of it than I have at this point. But still, we want to talk about it a little bit. So, we're looking at paranormal, so we also want to point out that it's not necessarily a horror supplement.
Right. Really, we're looking at something that's a little bit more occult. Yes. Paranormal is a great term for it as well. So we're tying into what is the occult magic nature of things, what about haunts and the like. But it's really a book that has explored some new design space in terms of how it's structured even. Because there are little bits of adventure in here as well, because as we start to look into paranormal, occult stuff, when you run a dungeon delve, you're like, hey, it's a room, it's a manticore, bada bing, bada boom, initiative, it's dead. But when it comes to saying, hey, new GM, you want to run an occult mystery? And you're like, where do I even begin with that? And suddenly, some of these little snippets and short adventures can help to give you a sense of how to start assembling some of those weirder adventure types. But all the while, you're getting not only new character options tied into all these things, but you're also getting a lot of fun setting information and just a sense of possibility. Like, how does one interact with mirror dimensions? Time travel's a thing? How can I do this and that with ghosts? So it's exploring all sorts of different classic paranormal tropes and how you can bring them into your Pathfinder game, both from a player side and a GM side.
Sure. And one thing that I found very interesting is, of course, it's a lot of options. You don't have to use everything in the book, but I was very impressed that each section has its own short adventure, and we're not talking like a page. On average, I believe they were about 4 pages long. And I was like, wow, that's sweet. So we were reading this information, and hey, here's an adventure for you to utilize that content. I thought that was very well done.
Yeah, a lot, as I kind of mentioned, a lot of it is just about opening your eyes to what's possible, especially on these weirder tropes. And so the more that you peruse this thing, the more that you're going to go, I didn't know that I could do that. I didn't know that was an option.
Sure.
And suddenly not only is it an option, but you have all the tools you need to run it in a compelling way.
Sweet. All right, so let's talk a little Starfinder.
Sure.
Once again, as I mentioned in the open, I personally feel Starfinder needs a little more love, or at least a little more buzz. I just don't hear as many people talking Starfinder as they do Pathfinder. And I think Starfinder is an excellent setting. It is a very cool setting. It's a lot of fun. We're not looking at, oh, this isn't serious, hard science fiction or anything like that. We've got goblins in space.
Absolutely. It's really a science fantasy setting. And we lean heavy into that fantasy part because fantasy is part of what drew people to Paizo and Pathfinder in the first place.
Sure.
We don't want that to get lost. So when you look at the classes, it's an opportunity for us to depart from some of the classic archetypes like wizard and cleric and whatnot, and instead delve into things like mechanics, into the Solarian, which is like this spiritual energy warrior, to do things like the Vanguard, the biohacker, get your scientists in there. But also, we're not losing the magic behind. Like, even in one of our more recent publications, Galactic Magic, we started looking at, hey, if there is magic in this galaxy, then what happens when it gets big? Like physics. I drop this book, gravity happens. When I get into astronomy, all physics is just like straight out of your head. So what happens when we have like so much of an aligned quintessence that it makes a black hole? Sure. What does that even do? And so we get to play with that supernatural astronomy and storytelling in a really cool way. On top of that though, Starfinder is really beloved by people in part because it lets you play the weird stuff. When I look back at Pathfinder First Edition, like if you had a four-armed Kasatha, when you made that full attack, you were just breaking the whole game mathematics. We've changed up some of how Starfinder runs, so that when we have these four-armed aliens, when we have flying jellyfish that you can play, when we have anything under the sun really, size tiny, size large, so much reach, blah, that it's doable and it's natural and it's balanced within your Starfinder play experience, and you can have the weirdest cantina under the sun and keep on going and tell awesome stories.
So there is a big release recently for Starfinder that adds a big new wrinkle, and it is Drift Crisis.
Absolutely.
Why, look, there's a copy of it right here. So let's talk a little bit about Drift Crisis and what the Drift Crisis is.
Yeah, well, to understand the Drift Crisis, we need to understand the Drift. So, what is a science fantasy setting without faster-than-light technology? So, our faster-than-light technology is called the Drift. It is a special plane of existence that can only be accessed by technological starship drives. So basically, you phase your ship into this dimension, you fly around, and basically it's kind of like a folded-up towel in a way. Like it's in a dryer, and like instead of flowing along the towel, you're waiting for different pieces to touch, and you jump in between those. So that way, when you drop out of the Drift, you've traveled a bajillion light years across the galaxy, so it's much more efficient. So everybody...
bajillion is an official length of distance.
We did say science fantasy, of course.
Yes.
So it's really important. All of our long distance communication uses the Drift too. And now the Drift Crisis, during that, the Drift has broken. So suddenly...
I didn't do it. I did not do it. Had nothing to do with that.
I mean, there are many sources of inspiration. One of them. Okay, so what happens when one of your most important technologies breaks? Especially one that keeps people united across a galaxy. Sure. Suddenly there's chaos. So, how does the Aslanti Star Empire keep its imperial tyranny going? It probably doesn't. There's probably rebellion. What happens to our core Pact Worlds area? Chaos in the streets, refugee crisis here, breakdown of magic. Like, all the magic users are saying, you know how you could only get to the Drift with technology? We always told you the magic was the only way to do things around here. So now you have angry mages running around. So there's so many possibilities. And that was kind of one of the challenges with this book. Because we would release one of these books and we'd say, great, let's make an adventure path to support this storyline. But it's affecting the whole galaxy. How do we choose winners and losers in the Drift Crisis? We can only publish these APs a year. Don't make us publish more than 2 APs a year, please. So the Drift Crisis really takes a different approach to adventure building. We say, rather than giving you big ol' adventures, we're going to give you big ol' adventure hooks. So we have these things called adventure seeds in here, which are 2 to 6 pages each, and they basically give you almost like a look behind the scenes at what a Paizo Adventure Path outline looks like. It's, here's what the setup is. Here are some of the twists that could be happening. Here are some of the characters and resources that we published in other books that you could be bringing in, like what monsters to use. And so that way you can kind of do that last mile of creation to make it your own, but you have all the groundwork you need to tell a really cool story in 20 different places at 20 different levels, whether you're doing like street level, save your neighbors, or just get home, or whether you are solving the whole damn thing.
Sure. Yeah, it is jam-packed with content, once again, and it is a big event that's taking place that rocks the world of Starfinder. It really does.
Absolutely. It affects everybody. And so it's been a great opportunity for us to revisit all the different locations that we've published so far and say, now what's up? And anytime that we have one of these big events, it's also an opportunity for us to later on say, now what has changed? So we're already looking at different ways that the Drift might operate after the Drift Crisis.
Sure.
We have several different adventure paths that are exploring the Drift Crisis. So there's one where it is lost in space. There's another one where it is let's solve it. And then eventually we will kind of wrap up the Drift Crisis and we'll move on to other storylines. But for now, it's kind of like one of those comic book events, like Civil War or whatnot.
Yeah, sure.
This is the big crossover moment.
Right.
So let's enjoy it for the next year or two, and then we'll see what big thing comes next.
Right.
Yeah.
One thing I do want to also mention, we've been talking a little bit of Pathfinder, we've been talking some Starfinder. I need to also mention that if you don't have the core books for either one of these, the beginner boxes that Paizo puts together, no joke, you know me, I'm not here to BS you. They are so jammed with content and they offer such value, and it allows you to dip your toes into one or both without spending an arm and a leg. And
absolutely,
they are fantastic beginner boxes. You can check out my reviews of both, and it's an easy way to jump in to either of the settings.
Yeah, and in terms of getting started, one of the things I've had a lot of people asking me about at the show is, if I were to just grab a handful of Starfinder books and get this thing rolling, what do I need? Okay, core rulebook and Alien Archive, sure, but I keep on pushing them toward, let's get an adventure. Because especially when somebody's jumping into sci-fi, science fantasy for the first time, it's kind of like
a different beast.
Yeah, it's a big galaxy. What do I even do? Well, let's start off with something like one of our Starfinder adventures. These are, I believe it's about 64 pages each, about 3 to 6 sessions of gameplay a piece.
Yes.
Takes you a couple levels. It's a great, modest amount of commitment for you to get a good taste of what the game's about without taking up your next year of game planning.
Right. And normally the adventure paths for both run 6 chapters, not always, sometimes 3, but there are some standalone one-shots basically as well to jump into also.
Exactly. Yeah. Our Starfinder adventure paths usually take about 4 to 6 sessions per book. And so, 6 volumes, that's probably a good year of gaming depending upon your group.
And you don't have to wait around for months and months and months for new content. It's every month.
Which does remind me about one of the great things about the Drift Crisis, which is that we recognize that sometimes jumping in on an adventure path, that's a big commitment, and you see something like Drift Crisis come out and you're like, oh, talk to me in mid-2023, because that's when we'll be done with this. We recognize that. And so we wanted to make sure that everybody could enjoy the Drift Crisis. Toward the back, we have this wonderful section called the Adventure Paths in Crisis, which is a way to take a look at every one of the adventure paths that we have published so far for Starfinder
and tweak them.
And tweak them to either start in the Drift Crisis or to have the Drift Crisis show up midstream. So that way you can pick up this book, say, well then, talk to me next year. We can say, how do I use this right now?
Sure.
And we have answers.
John, any final thoughts you'd like to share with our audience about Pathfinder Starfinder?
It's really all about the narrative. It's really all about the fan feedback. We love trying out new formats of things. Both Dark Archive and Drift Crisis are things we've never done before. And we love to see your reviews. We love to see your feedback and know whether this is a direction you want to see more of. Should we do more events like this? We're waiting to hear back from you. We're waiting to hear back how people are making their own adventures. And we're even eagerly watching the Pathfinder Infinite and Starfinder Infinite publishing programs to see what cool stories they add to the Drift Crisis as part of this bigger umbrella of narrative. So let us know how we're doing, because we're always excited to deliver something that's going to make your day.
Fantastic. John, thank you very much for hanging out with me here at Gen Con 2022. Been super busy, and we've actually had flankers alongside. You may have actually caught a blue shirt or two because they have been making sure that nobody crosses in front of the camera. So it is really busy. It's just we're being protected. So, all right, thank you very much, John.
Thank you.
Oh, hey, you're still here. Well, if that's the case, by all means, subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel by clicking right here. Check out the latest episode of the Gaming Gang Dispatch, or find out what YouTube recommends you check out from the channel. And of course, once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. Thanks for watching.